Okay, so I'm going to open our regular board meeting. It is 6:04 p.m. I call the meeting to order, and it looks like, do we have comments?
The way we do comments, yep, I see a hand up. She already knows. So with anyone in the public, which is one person, wants to talk, put your hand up. So Shelly, I'm going to go ahead and add you. And so Shelly, you should be added and able to talk. If you want.
Hi, Shelly.
Hi, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much for just letting. I just wanted to have just a very short comment. I coach the swim team and also the high school team. The high school season is in May and June of this year. And I was just hopeful that we could have board support for hosting swim meets as soon as it's safe to do so. So when the top comes off, maybe some high school dual meets and a little invitation for the club team this spring. So that's just kind of my request. And I don't know if anybody has any questions for me before I head up.
How many teams at one time come to these things?
You know, we could do a dual meet for the high school. It's just like with one other team would come. I don't know if they've decided yet if there's even going to be a district meet or a state meet. The district high school meet would have 5 teams, but I don't know, you know, the numbers might be too much in order for us in Oregon to do a district meet, but a high school dual meet would be 2 teams. And then for the club team, the same thing, would probably start very small with just dual meets with just one other team.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Shelly. I think if anybody has any other questions.
Can I ask a quick question? Hi, Shelly. This is Anna Cavallari. I was just curious, how's swim teams going? How are things going with the pool being back open, and how are your teams doing?
Oh, the team is booming. We have a wait list of about 25 kids and 25 master swimmers. I was a little worried that with our safety restrictions or requirements, it would turn people off, but it actually seems to be the opposite. We have all our swimmers, they have to sign up for lanes ahead of time. And, you know, for most groups, it's just 2 swimmers per lane, 1 at each end of the pool. And yeah, it's going really well. The kids are all great about drying off their face. They get their mask on right away. They're leaving the building even, you know, separately. They know that we just don't let them gather together. And it's been going really well. The master's program in the morning, what's really exciting there is we have about 50% of our masters now are vaccinated against COVID. So it seems like it's, you know, just getting safer and safer and a better place to be.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Nice. So glad to hear that. Okay. Thanks, Shelly. And Mark, are there any other, no more speakers?
No more speakers.
Okay. Okay. So like, we're going to move on to review the minutes from the regular board meeting, which was on the 17th, and the special board meeting. I think that was when we
had a special meeting to approve the contract for consultants for Westside Park.
Yep. So I would consider a motion to approve those minutes. Anybody have anything to object to, or?
I so move that we accept the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye or raise your hand or show it in some way.
Are these for both minutes? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I understood it to be for both minutes.
Got it. Thank you.
And it passes. Okay, it looks like we're on to the audit report.
Yes. Thank you. As you know, we get audited by the state every year, and Ken Onstad has been doing our audit for a very long time. I won't say exactly how many years, but a long time here. And so he completed our audit in December. And we waited a little bit of time to have him on, but we've got him here now. And so Ken, I'd like to turn it over to you in case you would like to just let them know. And they all do have copies of the audit in their packet to look through if there's anything you want to point out.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes.
I'm on a different computer tonight than I usually use, so I wanted to make sure that it was working right. Well, as Mark said, we just finished the audit for the fiscal year 2019-20. And we have provided copies of that to you. I would first probably direct your attention to the table of contents and kind of explain what the format of this report is. The financial section includes a number of things. It includes our report on the financial statements. It includes the management's discussion and analysis, and that's the thing that Mark drafts for us. And then the basic financial statements, which include notes to the financial statements. And then the state requires that certain funds be presented as required supplementary information. And that would be the general fund, the system development fund, and the improvement fund. And then we have other supplementary information, which included the debt service fund, which is pretty much extinct now. But and then the state of Oregon requires a separate report from us, and I'll discuss that in a little bit. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through all the details. You know, hopefully you've had a chance to read them, and I'm sure you've all spent many hours poring over this report. And I'll talk first about the audit report, the independent auditor's report. We indicate in here that it is, this is going to sound for most of you like a repeat of every year, because I'll probably say the same things that I said in other years. Management ultimately is responsible for these financial statements. They are not our financial statements, they're your financial statements. And so you as management are responsible for these. And our responsibility is to express an opinion on these financial statements. And we indicate that we conducted it in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. And then we indicate our opinion on these financial statements, and this is what we call an unmodified opinion. We used to call it a clean opinion, but powers that be decided that didn't sound good. So, but it is what you want to have as an unmodified opinion, which we believe that they are fairly stated. And then the second page of that includes some other talks about other matters, some of the other information that's in the audit report itself. And then we have the last paragraph on other legal and regulatory requirements, and that's the report that's on the state requirements. One thing that I thought might be interesting to you is on page 6. Just kind of shows you where you stand this year compared to last year. As you can see, your charges for services, which is mostly pool revenue, were down substantially, you know, given the fact that for a good part of the year you were shut down or limited at least. And then under expenses, there's kind of a corresponding decrease in expenses because you didn't have the staff on board and everything during that period of time. So change in that position, you're really about where you were in the prior year, you know, with about 300 some thousand of net increase in revenues over expenses. The basic financial statements on pages, starting on page 8, we have a statement of net position. That's the balance sheet as of June 30th. And then the next page is a statement of activities. Page 10 is breaking it down by the different funds. So you can see where each fund assets, and the same thing on page 11 that shows the revenues and expenses, expenditures broken down by funds. And then the notes are explanatory information, which is required by generally accepted accounting principles. Jumping back to, by the way, if you have any questions, if I'm jumping over something that you want to ask a question about, please feel free. Page 25 is the report required by Oregon state regulations. And in about the third paragraph, it talks about the different things that the state requires us to look at. And these are all things that are incorporated into our audit. And as noted, we did not find any deviations, any problems in any of these areas. The last page on internal control is the comment that you have in there every year. And it's because of a small organization, you did not have the capability of performing some of the functions and that would be happening in a larger organization. The final thing that we issue, and it's not really a part of the audit report itself, but it's the letter to management. And this is where we put our comments on things that we think need to be improved or deficiencies that we've noted. You'll be happy to note that this letter has got smaller every year for the last 3 or 4 years, to the point where now the only comment we had was the same comment that we have in there and we're required to consider as a, by definition, significant deficiency, and that's that you don't have a system for performing some of the necessary accounting processes because of the size of the organization. We maintain the depreciation schedules for the district, and we also do the draft of the financial statements. And once we do the draft, we always provide that to Mark and Monica to go over, and if they don't agree with anything, we discuss it, make any corrections that are needed to be made. So that's our report. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I have to say it is pretty impressive that this the letters have gotten smaller and smaller, and I think that's a testament to management and Monica and Mark and Marcy, and well done. I remember the first report I saw Ken do a long time ago, and there were some things to be concerned with, but we've worked through them, and I think you guys are doing great. Thank you.
Things have improved greatly over the past year, so compliments to them.
Cool. So good news, at least in that way, even if our pool proceeds are not what we're used to. Okay. Anybody else have questions? I guess we're happy.
Okay.
Thank you, Jen.
That's no more questions. I'll excuse myself from the meeting.
All right.
Okay. Thanks very much, Ted.
Thank you.
Okay, that was pleasant, really nice to know. Yeah, it looks like we're gonna talk about the budget. And I think, Mark, maybe you have some new kind of insight on our plans.
Yeah. So at our last meeting, this is a slide from the last meeting. We talked about all of these different things, and the one thing that that you had asked me to come back on was we had talked about timing of ballot measures, and there were a couple questions, and the questions were around timing and cost of the ballot measures, and then I was asked to get some to chat with someone to get a little bit of political advice on timing for some of these things. So I'll run through that. So first, timing and cost. I checked with all of the other agencies that might be running something, and no one else is planning on running anything in November of 2021. There was also some question on whether or not we would need to pay for a ballot initiative, and the answer is yes, we do need to pay. According to ORS 165-2050, special districts have to pay for all costs incurred for elections that we run. In fact, you know, I think Susan Crowley was one that brought this up, and some of her questions was around why they didn't have to pay when they ran in special election time during November, and it was still paid for by the city. The city actually had to chip in and pay for that because it was a citizens initiative. So it meant the citizens didn't have to pay for it, but someone still had to pay for it. The county is not going to get that cost for free. So they did run some numbers for me last time. I had quoted, I think, a little bit higher because I was quoting a larger election, but if we were the only ones on the ballot, it might be less pages. And so their estimate was in that November of 2019 special election, each ballot cost them $1.39 to put out. And right now our district has 14,824 registered voters. And so it would be a little above $20,000 in order for us to do to run in the November in an election where no one else is scheduled, where we would be the only ones going. So the other thing I was asked to look at was Mike McCarthy sent me a contact for a family friend of theirs, a gentleman by the name of Len Bergstein, who is a political consultant, and I did a little Google research on him, and he is the real deal. This guy has been doing this for a long time, speaks very highly of Mike and his family, and was just so gracious with his time. He's nearing retirement, and he told me that he's not looking for any work, but he would love to answer any questions that we have if it's just some quick advice questions. And I chatted with him for probably 20-25 minutes, and he was very you know, very much a straight shooter, and really helped out quite a bit. A couple of things that we talked about was, you know, I asked him about the about going during a time when I laid out kind of the scenario of the every other November being a general and the local elections in May and such. He said a good rule of thumb is the larger the turnout, the better for tax initiatives. He said that he would stay away from being alone on an election. And he said his reasoning behind this, he said, you know, it's kind of a double-edged sword. You can really try and get your crowd out there and really try and push them, but he also said it gives the anti-tax crowd the argument that we're just trying to sneak something through. And we don't want to give them that ammunition, and it could come back, and it's just a little bit more transparent when you put it out in a bigger general election. He asked the question if we had done any polling since COVID, and I told him that no. I told him about the polling that we had done in the past, and the survey work that we did with our master plan, and he said that anything pre-COVID is outdated. So we might want to consider going out and doing some more polling. But then we kind of went off on the sidebar and chatted a little bit. It was very interesting. I said, well, you know, with polling these days, the fact that, you know, people really aren't in the phone book anymore, and cell phones and all of that, you know, how is it done and how, you know, accurate it is. And he kind of laughed. He said, well, that's the $1 million question. He said he still believes in polling, thinks that we need to ask stuff, but he says polling is getting harder and it's getting less accurate and more expensive. And I thought, boy, that's an interesting kind of conundrum there. He said, you know, there's other ways, there's cheaper ways to do it, and there's other ways to get out there and try and get it, but it's kind of one of these you get what you pay for sort of scenarios. And he said that he still is recommending doing polling, but he said that you know, in the last couple of years, it's getting, you know, kind of harder to trust some of that data. So, you know, I don't know exactly where to go with that. I just thought that I would pass that on, that it was kind of an interesting nugget that he really, one of the things he really thought that we should do is do some more polling, but then was kind of, you know, sheepish on how good that data is and what really it looks like. So that was kind of the gist of the conversation we had. It was a great conversation. He offered to answer any other questions that we have, and he also offered to put us in touch with some other political consultants that maybe aren't retiring soon, and give me some advice for maybe interviewing them and working with someone else if we get down the road and we want to go that direction. So those were the two pieces that that the board asked me to research and get back to you on, and I looked at that. And the other thing that I was just thinking about was, and I talked a little bit with Len about this as well, was kind of the grassroots effort of having. He's like, who's going to be, you know, on your side? Who's the one that's going to be the ones pushing this? You know, we've talked about having some sort of a nonprofit or you know, foundation to be kind of in our corner, and also to be able to say, like, we've got this group helping raise money so to help kind of offset some of the stuff that we're trying to do and have all of that. And we haven't put that in place right now yet, because, you know, I think with COVID and everything, it's been difficult to get that going. But I think that there's some work that needs to be done there on that side to have that groundwork, so that when we put something forward, we have it. So looking back at the dates, you know, for us to do if we chose to do redistricting, which it sounded like at the last meeting, we're still wanting to go for that. The very next one we could do, if we had a decision made pretty much right now, would be to go for this November 2nd, which was not recommended and would cost us $20,000. But after that, it's the following May of 2022, or the primaries in November of 2022. So I thought I would just open it up to the board to continue this discussion and see how the board's feeling.
What do you guys think?
No.
Mark, what's it look like May 2022? Any other people putting something in that you know of, city, county?
No one has anything on the horizon at all for the next 5 years or so, or at least 3 years, which I thought was interesting. So school district, I think they passed their levy in 2018, I think, and I think that's 6 years. So that might be 2024 before they need to go for a levy. The county, when they passed theirs, I think that they feel like they're good for a while. They have nothing coming up. There was some talk with the county and the city combining their efforts for some sort of a public safety building or public safety initiative, and I think that has been kind of cooled down and put on the back burner for now. And they did not have any sort of a timeline on when that might fire up again, or when they'll be talking about it. But I think they decided not to move forward with that at this time.
But May 22, 2022 is a primary election. So there will be turnout, right? I mean,
yeah, there sure will. Yeah, that'll be a primary, and then yeah, yep.
And we would not pay the full cost then.
Correct. We would be splitting the cost actually quite a bit with a lot of different you know, state agencies and, you know, whoever else is putting things on. So our cost in May is usually, like for this May, is usually a couple $1,000s. So yeah, it'd be considerably less.
But there's a possibility that we'd still be the only initiative on the ballot, or there'd be, because there's other primaries on the ballot, we wouldn't be.
Right, we might be the only, it's not necessarily a bad spot if you're the only initiative on the ballot. It's the bad spot, I think, and I don't know if it's a bad spot or not, but it's, I think what Len's point was, is when you go out and you're the only thing on the ballot at all, like no elections at all, and you've paid for the election and you're putting something out there and you're all alone, then that's where he felt like it. You know, he said, you know, there's some people that want to do that. I will tell you that when the West Side Fire District did it in November of 2019, at the same time the Protect Our Parks group did their city charter change, that passed by 70-something%. I think it was over 75%. It was a renewal of a current levy, so it wasn't really new money, but it did well. So. I'm not saying that it's impossible to go at that point. It was just his thought that that it's maybe doesn't seem quite as transparent, and that it gives some people an argument against your transparency.
It certainly has advantages if we can mobilize. I mean, that's the key thing there. If we can get our people, although it's a mail-in ballot, but a lot of people just leave them on the table if they're not excited about it. And if we can get all our people to turn it in, but tough decision.
Which date are you thinking about that has the advantages, Mike?
Well, I was just saying November of 21, if there's nothing else on there, and if we can get our people to turn their ballots in, and we can push hard to get all our people to turn their ballots in, that's a possibility. I don't quite understand the transparency thing, Mark. Can you explain that?
I suppose maybe transparency is the wrong word there, but I suppose it was more, he thought that it would give the anti-tax. Let me pull up my notes because I wrote down the exact quote that he had told me. Let's see. I just wrote down, it allows the anti-tax people to have an argument, and I guess I didn't finish that sentence. His thing was, I think, that the anti-tax crowd could say that you're trying to sneak something through, or you're trying to, the reason that you're doing it is because you're trying to sneak something past the voters, or something along those lines. It was just about taking away that argument from them by putting it in another spot where there's other things on the ballot. It's also, I think, the you know, if you're arguing the fact that we are underfunded and we don't have much money, and then we're spending $20,000 on a ballot initiative to be out by ourselves on something, those arguments are kind of in conflict with each other.
So I'm kind of, based on what this sort of expert is suggesting, I'm kind of leaning toward May, especially because I don't think that I mean, we're still dealing with COVID, and we will be through the summer. And I think it's going to be hard to get the sort of coalition type of support that we need to pass this thing, because it's going to be a pretty big ask. But what do you guys think? And I'm talking May 22.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you, Nan. I think it gives us more time to organize post-COVID. I think that there's real advantages there.
I think that the con for November 2021 is the price tag. The pros are, well, and I guess the other con is that it will, you know, we'd be the only ones on the ballot, which could, you know, according to the political advisor, could have negative connotations. and that we don't have as much time to organize and promote our initiative. The pros would be, we kind of have, I mean, this is kind of urgent. We really, I mean, the primary purpose we were, going after this was to save our pool, and time's ticking on that. Like, I'd like to know, we get an update from Mark and Marcy, just about every board meeting about the status of the pool and how things are going. And I know it's ramping back up in usage, and I know that maintenance has kind of been ongoing, but is it going to make that much of a difference in our long-term time frame if we wait 6 months between November 2021 to May of 2022? I guess that's one thing. And the other thing, I keep hearing Mike Shind in my ear saying, these initiatives don't get passed the first time. And it would be a bummer to spend $20,000 to get on the ballot and, not have it pass, but then take another bite at the apple in May and still have to pay another couple thousand. But at least we're taking advantage of every opportunity to get our initiative out there. So I'm kind of torn. I mean, I could see the pros and the cons of either date.
I really cannot see spending 20 grand just in the current, financial atmosphere that we're in. It seems like it'd be, I don't know. I mean, it'd be kind of fiscally irresponsible. Yeah, I know. I want to get it done already.
So can we expect a good turnout in the May primary? I'm trying to think who's running for what, and I'm not coming up with much, but in terms of the big elections,
let me pull something up. Keep talking amongst yourselves. Glenna, I don't know if we've heard from you, and I'm going to pull up some research I did on that.
Yeah, Glenna, what are you thinking?
Well, I'd like to do it as soon as possible, but I certainly don't want to spend $20,000 for the election. So like you say, it's not physically responsible for us to do that.
I just remember asking Mark and Marcy, can you hold this pool together for 3 to 5 years based on that expert's recommendation? And that was 3+ years ago. And you've done an amazing job. It is getting expensive, but
and the
I know
answer to that is still, we just don't know.
I know.
I mean, something could break tomorrow that's catastrophic, and something could, and this pool could be running 5 years from now still. We are spending more money on things, and we're making these weird decisions where we're looking at how, how long we're going to have the building and how much we should put in the investment into it. The locker room floors are a good example of that. They were really bad, and we decided we'll have the pool for at least another 3-4 years even if we went right away, and we between designing a new building and and all of that stuff. So we decided to go for it, but we're still it's just like having an old car and deciding whether or not you want to put new tires on it or not.
We went out into the community and told everybody 3.5 years ago that the pool wasn't going to last 5 years. And I don't want them to think that we were lying to them.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that we were. I mean, we were saying what we thought, based on our, consultants' recommendations, but even they had little asterisks on all that saying that, they're just not sure. It's just, we're just gambling more and more the longer we wait.
We can, Glenna, we can show them a list of things we had to do to keep it running.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty good evidence that we weren't really telling a tall tale.
Yeah, true.
Is the governor up? Is the governor up in 2022, which would be a fairly active primary, possibly?
Yeah, I believe so.
And Chuck Thompson's up, I believe, which I don't know, probably on the Democrat side will be a fairly active primary, I would suspect. So I kind of think May 2022 is going to be active, maybe more active than these primaries that you just showed us.
Yeah, so I'm showing you right now, May of 2018 was 42% turnout. November of 2018, which was the presidential election, was 74%. So let's see, the primary that would be relevant would be I guess would be 2020. Yeah, I mean, it just shows you the difference. The generals are much more. This last one was 84%. The general and was 74% there. The other ones are in the 40 or close to 50%.
There'll also be a Democrat running against Cliff Bentz in our district, and that should be a fairly active primary too, I would suspect.
Yep. Yeah.
You never know about primaries because sometimes there's just one, say, Democratic candidate, so there's no real deal. But I think that's going to be active on all the D sides trying to maintain or get in power.
I think there is too. Yeah. I think a lot of people are going to want him out of there. And I think they're going to go to the polls to show that.
Okay, so I'm kind of hearing May of 2022.
I think that makes sense. And I like the idea of having some additional time to really map out a plan and get out in the community. I like the idea of, you know, what the expert mentioned to you too, Mark, about like, let's get new information. Like at this point, we can go back out and talk to people again, or do what we can to gather as much polling information about what people want to see, and then really prepare for that May 2022. And I suppose if, you know, by waiting 6 months, if the pool implodes, that just makes the urgency in May 2022 all that more urgent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do
Yep.
we need a motion? Should we have a motion, Nan?
Yeah. Do we need one?
I don't think we need one because we're not really taking any action. We'll need a motion in May. That's what we're going to go for. But this is more just advice for planning for the year.
Yes.
Well, as a part of that, should we figure out a polling strategy and the timing of it?
Yeah, I think that we can put some money in for the polling. So this was just kind of to inform the budget and what we put in there for the budget. I'll have to chat with Ruben on, you know, what we can spend money on. I believe we can spend money on polling from this. It's the promoting that we can't. So we can put some money in for that. We have to have our decision to run and what we're putting up there on the ballot in November, if we go in. And so probably this summer we would need to be looking at polling.
Remember when you had that nice timeline, you are here, and then like what was coming up? Can we get a new one of those based on May 22?
I love making those timelines. You got it.
Good. I remember it was color coded.
That's when I'm in my element. I just get the PowerPoint done.
To see where we are and what we have to do and when. That'd be awesome.
Yep.
Will we possibly be engaging a political consultant or somebody that can help us to see how we can get this passed? Like, you know, put us in the best position to be successful in May of 2022?
Right. Now, Lynn recommended this person, Mark. Have you pursued that at all, or do you feel like that's a good thing at some point?
Yeah, I don't know. So we talked about her a little bit during the conversation and some others as well. He was under the assumption that she had helped out in a district attorney race here in Hood River. His advice on that was if she did do that race, then to look at her, and if she didn't, look for somebody else that has been successful in our area. He really stressed not just going for the whiz-bang person out of Portland that's won a whole bunch of stuff in Portland, but to find people that have been successful and know our county.
Mark, that may have been the Wasco County race because they replaced their district attorney.
Yeah. And
Not
he wasn't
here.
sure on that. That was just something that he had kind of heard. And so it was kind of funny during the conversation. He was going online and really trying to search and try and figure out, you know, what she had done, and he couldn't find it on there. So he gave me a couple of, he said to give him a call and ask him, you know, or, you know, email him if we wanted to look into some others, and he could give us a whole list of people. But his advice was to find somebody that is familiar with our county and with the elections here and has actually done an election in this county before. We also, I know a couple of board members have met with Liz Whitmore before, who has ran the school district races and the county levies. She is a wealth of knowledge as well. Now, she's not a you know, professional political consultant that does, you know, that specifically for a living, but she definitely knows the local stuff very well and has given us a lot of advice on that. So I think that she's definitely worth a person that we should talk to again.
Did we, at some point, did somebody talk to her about running our campaign?
And she said that she would be willing to do it.
Right. So that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
That was a couple of years ago. I remember, definitely pre-COVID. I remember meeting her at Kickstand, and she was amazing. But we probably would want to.
We'll check again. Yeah, it's been some time.
Okay, anything else on that plan?
No, we are on to financial report.
KK. Monica.
There we go. I can't wait till we can all be in one room and I can stand up and use my hands and talk about money, budgets. Here we go. We're having a little bit of activity. So this was February. We you know, a little bit of activity. I think that, as Ken noted for last year, the revenue will be down. I think we're going to see that again this year, obviously from pool restrictions, but also the corresponding expenses are down as well. So it's not anything that's alarming or concerning. It's exactly what everybody anticipated, given where we're at. Hallelujah, some COVID relief funding coming, what that's going to look like. You know, still to be determined, but there's some payments that'll happen in the next up to 2 years. So that'll be nice. But as far as revenue for general fund, property tax, people are paying their taxes. Hallelujah, Hood River County folks. Mark, next one. Improvement fund. So I do like to tell you, because it doesn't get used very often and our capital outlay is, you know, one lump number. I do like to tell you what it is for. So I do put the notes there. And this is for the new flooring, the pickup, and the gas furnace has been spent out of this fund so far.
And I will note that we are hoping that the pickup and the gas furnace both get charged to some sort of COVID to whatever is replacing the CARES Act. They were both reimbursable by the CARES Act. We just missed the window on those ones because of the SDAO funds ran dry. So we're still hoping to be able to get those reimbursed.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the SDCs. So inside really picked up with that large SDC that came in last month. County is still plugging away. There's about 1 or 2 a month, which means they're consistently developing. And I think that's good news. I'm a little bit surprised only because the cost of lumber and the cost of supplies is so extremely high right now. I honestly am a little surprised at the development that is happening. I expected a few of those to be on hold, and I have heard some have been on hold. But maybe the smaller remodels, I know some of those permits have been asked to be set aside or on hold for a while. So remains to see how that turns. And of course, interest earnings are super low right now, as we expected that. We have a little bit of costs coming out of the SDC, and that's around the Indian Creek Trail, and then down below in Capitol, West Side Park. So those are the two projects that are happening with SDC funds at this time. And then I, as normal, break it out for you at the bottom. So we have an ongoing accountable track of inside and outside the urban growth boundaries.
I will also note on this one that we did go to the city at a city council meeting last month and asked to be able to use inside the urban growth boundary money for both this Indian Creek Trail extension and the West Side Park, which are both on the border of the urban growth boundary. And they approved up to, I think it was $350,000 between the two of them to be used for that. So we will be, so far we've been charging just the outside the UGB, but since these are both projects that will serve the city, we will be doing a couple of adjustments to that. So some of these slides may change on those balances. The city also left it open to us to be able to go back at a future date. They did have some concerns over investing in the West Side Park, the Blackman Skinnickle property. Until we knew whether or not what we could do with the property. They had some questions in there, but they ultimately went ahead and approved some money for it, but not enough money to fund the entire plan. But we have enough money in the outside the urban growth boundary to make it all happen.
That's it.
Okay. Any questions, anybody?
Nope.
Well, nice job. Thank you, Monica.
You're so welcome.
All right. Director's report, we've been talking about it, but of course, the Hood River County has been downgraded to from moderate risk to low risk. That doesn't change much with how we're operating things here right now, but it is moving in the right direction, and we're glad for that. We do have hopefully some money coming in with the American Rescue Plan Act, which was the latest stimulus that was just passed. All of the cities and counties and school districts really knew exactly what they were getting. The special districts are a little bit different because they are a pass-through. We'll be finding out, I think, in another couple of weeks or so, how we access those dollars and what we're eligible for, but we'll be going for that when we come. I just got a note that we missed something on the agenda, so I am going to go back real quick. After we did a goal setting and then went to finance report, we were supposed to appoint a budget committee member.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I think that I had the slides going and I forgot to insert a slide in on that one. Or maybe I just missed it. Let's see. So let me go back to that real quick, and then we'll go back to the director's report, because I just want to make sure that we get this in there so that we have another budget committee member. So I advertised a budget committee position in our newsletter and on our website, and told you guys about it last time. Hopefully there was some word of mouth going around that we were looking for another budget committee, but it was advertised. We did get one submittal, and I included it in your packet, Aspen McKenna. And we do have one position open for Aspen, we chose not to interview just to go off the application, since there's just one application right here. And I thought that I would put it over to the board for discussion and put it up to you if you would like to appoint this new budget committee member.
I'm looking for the paperwork. I'm looking for the. Why does that sound so familiar? How old is this person?
That's a question I don't like to answer. Marcy.
We would not ask that,
yes,
Ann.
she's wonderfully adultish in the adult.
No, you don't know how old I am. I still could have had her in class. That's what I'm asking.
No.
So it was the fourth attachment to Mark's, like number 4 in the documents. And she has a 12-year-old daughter. Her husband's a doctor, I think, here in town. I can't remember his name, but I met them socially. She's lovely.
Yeah, if she wants to do it, let's bring her on.
Yeah, it looks
She's
good
a tennis
to me.
player, uses our parks very often, is involved with the city with a lot of different things, including the community education foundation, or the Hood River Education Foundation.
I move
Awesome.
to approve her as a new budget committee member.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye.
All right.
I think passed. I can't see everybody at the same time right now, but I heard Glenna for sure. I think we got it.
I will go back to the middle of the director's report, right where I was when I went off track there to get us back. So facility requests. This was one of the things that that was brought up during our public comments. We're starting to get some requests for some summer programs at the pump track and also the swim meet at the pool. I thought I'd just kind of feel out the board to see how you feel about this. The summer camp or the pump track ones, takes over. The pump track's been very popular lately, and this does take over the pump track for exclusive use. They want exclusive use for it during certain times. Marcy's had some ideas lately on how maybe we could curb some of that and say that we only do exclusive use for a half day rather than a full day or something like that. We do have other features right now out there at the park that people can use with the dirt jumps and some other things, so that we would never set exclusive use to the entire park all at once, but just for this one area. This is not uncommon. There are lots of, like the tennis courts out here at May Street are exclusively rented by the school district for tennis practice every single day during a certain amount of time. Now, that's a little different because there are other tennis courts in town, and people do know that every day between 3 and 5 you can't use the tennis courts here. Whereas this would be, there are some people that drive in from Portland to use the pump track, and they might show up and there happens to be a camp going on it. The difficult thing is if we don't regulate this and we don't take reservations, some of these camps might show up anyways and just go ahead and kind of poach the thing, and we might as well be making some revenue for it and also be collecting their insurance waivers and all of that. Marcy, did you want to talk a little bit about maybe the ones that we've gotten so far and some of the things that your thoughts on this?
Sure. So a couple of things about our, we haven't updated our rate ordinance in about, since 2019, fiscal year 2019-2020. We did have some facility use ideas on that rate ordinance. But the pump track at that time had not yet been fully completed. So we were kind of working under a premise of like what we thought it might be like versus the reality of like what we know we're getting with the pump track. Our facility use, we have 2 items under our current rate ordinance. One is the facility use fee, and that would include that would be an allowance for like mountain bike camps like Cooper Spur and Becca's Brave Endeavors and what's Gary Pasha's mountain bike camp, like those types of camps to come in and come in for like an hour. The intention under that was to come in for like an hour, use it, have, like a school of, like a few kids or, a group of their kids of like 7, 8 kids, which is what a normal mountain bike camp runs with, and then leave. We have been, this past summer, we had some outside mountain bike camps from the Portland area request to use the pump track and use it all day, which kind of changes the dynamics of that. And our rate ordinance didn't include timing on that. And so I put a lot of thought into this and talked to a lot of people about how they do, do various camps, and looked at how the county does things with Post Canyon and those sorts of ideas. And I guess the bottom line, I think, comes to amount of time used. So similar to what we do with the pool. So at the pool, we charge people for the time that they use a lane, swim team might use the lane, and they are charged a certain rate. And so my basic premise is that I think that we need to capture this money and capture the people that are coming in to use it and gain a profit off of these, the businesses that they're trying to run at our facility, and charge them for the time that they're using it. And so there's two ways of doing that, like it could be for like those mountain bike schools that are coming in and trying to use it regularly and for a small amount of time, a much lower fee than for somebody who's trying to come in and use it as an exclusive use. So I think at maybe our next board meeting, I could do a full rate proposal for you all so that you could have some ideas about where this is going. But we are having a lot of requests now about this summer and using the facility.
What are board members, what are you thinking about? What do you think about somebody tying that thing up for a whole day?
I don't think we should let anybody tie it up for a full day. It's so well used, and I would really hate to disappoint those people that use it now.
So yeah, I feel it's the same way. I'm thinking 3 hours max, maybe push it to 4, but 3 hours. But that's a pretty good session for some kids that want to do something, I would think.
The other thing that I was considering, so if somebody did want to use it for exclusive use, something, so anything for exclusive use would be at a time of like 2 hours, 3 hours, and then they would have to rent both either the dirt jumps or the pump track, but one of those other items would have to be open to the public so that we would avoid having the situation where somebody coming from Portland, would just get completely shut out. So at least they could use the dirt jumps while the pump track is taken, or vice versa.
Is there any way we can always do it at the same time too? Probably not, based on when these groups want to use it. But if it was always Tuesday and Wednesday and Saturday from 9 to noon were the times that were committed only, so people would know. But I don't know, Marcy.
So I think
I know that too, that we only do this in the mornings or at certain time, just so people know it might be busy from 9 to 1, but I know it's not busy after 1. Like that, Mike?
Yeah, okay. We could definitely say to any mountain bike group, hey, these are the days that we're allowing mountain bike camps to come in. So we can do that. We can also post when certain groups are coming in on our website, have some sort of like calendar going so that people can look and at least have, some, if they have the wherewithal to say, hey, maybe I should check to see if it's going to be busy. But I think that we could do both of those things for sure.
Would it be restricted only to the week, or would you have a different scale if they wanted it on the weekend? It would be a higher rate, that it would be if they really wanted it like for a particular time frame that we know is busy and actively used, maybe they pay extra for that.
So I'm thinking about the number of people and the amount of time. So anything so right now, one of the things that we were looking at was like that 25 people might be okay. And this was before the pump track was open. And really that pretty much that many people would shut down the pump track, even with things taking over. So like, I would say like the group size needs to be much smaller. in order for it not to be in an exclusive use. There are some, group sizes where like it could be still held in conjunction with the public using it. So those are some of the things that we'll need to, some of the details that we'll need to dial down. But I definitely think that a weekend fee versus a weekday fee might be a good option to explore as well.
And so you'll maybe have something to present to us at the next meeting, Marcy?
Yes.
That would be excellent.
And so then just in terms of temperature, so do we feel, because I am anticipating a lot of requests, and I do have one particular mountain bike school that is asking to host about 5 events starting in April and then into summer, but already requesting certain dates. And then we have another school from mountain bike camp from Portland requesting 2 dates in the summer, one in the summer and in the fall. And then just say that I am just wondering how I should respond. That yes, with fee change, with new fees coming up.
What do we think about like after 1 p.m. it's just open to the public? Do we kind of agree on that, board members? Would that help you, Marcy? Is that the kind of thing you need?
I think we should stick, as you said, Dan, I think we should stick to any other groups using it exclusively in the mornings.
Yeah.
And if they want to use it, they can use it between 6 in the morning and noon.
So the only thing to consider is that some of these are for children who are in school until a certain time. And so they're asking for some afternoon times for like after school programs. So that's just something to consider, that it's often for the youth.
But I think it should be, I want it open to our youth after school. And I get that we could lose some revenue because they can't come earlier, but I really think, I want it open to our kids. And they are all now this spring going to be getting out at like 1 o'clock. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I like the idea of limiting the exclusive use to 3 hours or less. I think that, maybe minimize it to, once a week. I don't know what the dates are, but, if they're saying we want it 3 days a week or whatever, but similar to the tennis situation, the tennis court situation, if it could be, we have it open to our kids are getting out of school at noon. Like grade school aged kids are getting out of school at 11:45. So if they want exclusive use, maybe between the hours of 3 and 6, like at a maximum of twice a week or something like that. Maybe you just have some parameters so that it can be made available to them on those dates, but they can't monopolize it for an entire week and to the exclusion of local kids that use it.
Sure. I think I can work with some of those parameters and come up with a really solid plan to present to you all next time. So the way that, from what I'm hearing from you, is that I can respond with we will work with you, but it will be under our terms, and we will be telling you what those terms are in the next month or so.
Yeah, I feel like the April dates are just kind of hard to get to, but because if they, it's just, I think we need time to see what exactly our rules are going to be and then have you present that to us. Could we decide on that so that they can get their dates in if before our next board meeting? Like if that's something you could put together and send to us, maybe that's something we can
easily do. This is something that I can get to you very soon. So so we could, do a special meeting that wouldn't, doesn't need to take very long.
We can't make any decisions about that as a board, but we can get information to you so that you can process some of that information. If you want us to come back with a special meeting, we can make it a quick one like we did before to discuss this. Or what we could always do also is just kind of let them do their April based on something, and just tell them we're not setting, like the new rules will be coming soon and things will be changing. So this isn't necessarily how it's always going to be. Kind of
That'd be
trial
nice.
thing.
So just kind of make it work in April, and
Yeah.
then we get something settled a month from now,
Yeah,
and then we go forward.
yeah.
Marcy, could you remind me, you said that the Portland group wants to use it in the summer. It's a local group that wants to use it in April?
It's Becca's Brave Endeavors. I don't know if you all know Becca Rottenberg. She was a former middle school teacher and has kind of is doing the mountain bike and fitness regimen, and has, you know, a website and all that. And she has requested 5 dates that will, you know, starting in this, you know, early spring for after school mountain bike camps. And then she wants to do 2 to 3 workshops that are, you know, like within that time frame that you all find acceptable, 2 to 3 hours, but she does want exclusive use so that, you know, she's able to actually like run, you know, the skills that she wants to run through with people.
And also, just a quick aside, in defense of running programs on this, the pump track is not the easiest thing for you just to pick up on yourself. So the fact that we are going to be teaching kids like how to use the pump track and how to you know, to work it, I think is a really good thing too. So this isn't necessarily a bad thing that we're you know, it's weighing the pros and cons of taking it away from the public for a little bit, but we're also investing in the youth of our community by giving them this great facility to learn and get better.
And and they will come and use it if we say no. And that is a really tough one to swallow, you know, when you're like, I'm sorry, and then you know, they
see the
like,
van pull up in the parking lot.
they have like the kid drop off at Golden Eagle, and
Yeah.
then, you know, the parent pick up there, and, you know, so they work the system a little bit. And so it would, you know, I think behoove to capture some of that and make sure that, you know, we have all the liability covered.
I think I'm all for supporting the you know, the education piece of it. I'm just supporting local businesses. I think it's a great idea, but yeah, I think we just have to, if you tell her, you know, we're happy to work with you for these early dates. Yeah, but we want to, we're reserving the right to come up with a formal policy, and things are going to change. But yeah, I think that makes sense.
So the other facility request we had, I'm sorry, was there anything more on that one, on the any more discussion on the mountain bike stuff? Okay. The other facility request we had was for the swim meet happening, or that they would like to do dual meets and such. And you heard a little bit, had a little Q&A with Shelley earlier. Our opinion on this as staff is that the school, the swim team and Shelley especially have been doing an outstanding job following regulations to a T. In fact, I think going a little bit above and beyond on these, especially if we do these after the cover is off. I think that they can be done safely. We're seeing, you know, a lot of sporting events starting to come back in a lot of other places as well. So as staff, we feel very comfortable with this, but we did want to be able to bring this to the board as well, just because, you know, the times that we're in and such, and just ask your opinion on this one.
Yeah, I'm excited and hope this can happen. I trust Shelley and I trust you guys. And I mean, sports at the high school are going really quite well. Our county's trending downward. So I'm definitely, especially a dual meet, I definitely support that. Do you guys have any big concerns?
I feel the same way.
Great.
Good.
Okay. Winter project updates. We've been doing a lot of stuff out there. These are just some fences out here at Golden Eagle at the pump track and such. We you know, you can see a couple of these areas where mountain bikers have been coming down off this hillside to get a little bit more of a run out on stuff, and Same with kind of here, we wanted to be able to separate the pickleball from the mountain bike side and such. So we always had a plan to put these fences in, but we've been a little bit behind on this maintenance stuff. But during the winter, we're able to come back and do these special projects, and these fences are just looking great. And we've been getting a lot of compliments. In fact, our maintenance supervisor, as he was putting it in, had about 3 offers from people to go build fences on their properties. Which he turns down. He's not for hire anywhere else. He's ours. But the park is looking great out there. We've also been doing lots of other things. At the last meeting, we talked about Arrowhead Drive and how we were going to be relocating some of the trailhead stuff, and we did relocate that over to the area off of the cart path. So it was from right here on the road down there to the cart path. Now the Arrowhead Drive neighbors for the last month or so have been putting flyers on people's cars that park out there. We've heard a little bit about it, not much, but I think today I've actually heard 3 separate comments about people that were not as pleased to be getting these flyers put on their cars. The flyers are, we don't endorse the flyers at all. It's their neighborhood that's doing it, but they did list us on the flyer, just saying that they had met with Parks and Recreation, but it kind of makes it a little bit sound like it's coming from us. I know Nan had mentioned that she had had a citizen reach out to her as well. So
yeah, so I had someone who got one of these flyers on her car, and he was zipping around there, the guy that's doing it and she stopped and asked him, what's going on? What's this about? And she came away with this idea that it was us. And so she was mad, and she was like, why can't I park my car there? Da, 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 da. And I knew what was going on because I had been informed by Mark, and I said, you can park your car there. But and she said, why don't they want people to park their car? And I didn't have a good answer, because actually there isn't a good answer. I was under the impression that they didn't have enough parking, but that's not true at all. They just don't want other people's cars parked on their street. Anyway, I kind of suggested I'd like to get our name off that flyer.
So the people that live on the street are putting the flyers on the cars?
Yes.
Yes. Aggressively, like every car, every time. Because what do you think she's doing now? She goes there as often as she can and parks.
Yeah. I'd like to see the flyer, see what it looks like.
I will get a copy to all of the board members. I do know that one of the neighbors did say that it's working really well. A lot less people are parking there. But maybe they've done what they need to do, and they can back off. But yeah, I have heard that while we were actually putting the signs in, our maintenance people saw the guy that runs out for every car. They said he runs out, puts one on, and runs back up to his house at a pretty frequent rate. Pretty much gets every car.
I would like to take a look at this flyer too. I mean, I don't think that they should be putting something out that insinuates it's from our district when it's not.
It's very well worded, Ruben, and I'll get you a copy of it, but it says we have met with the Parks District. Just basically says that they met with us, but by saying they met with us, it almost makes it sound like it's partly from us.
Yes, it does really. It does sound like, it makes it sound like we are with them in trying to keep people from parking there. And that's why she came straight to me and was like, what's wrong with you guys? So yeah, we'll get a copy, or you can just go park there for like 5 minutes and you'll get one. What does he do? He just sits in his house and waits for somebody to park there and then runs down there. I mean, honestly, I got one, but I'm not going to tell you what I did with it. I should have taken a picture. But it kind of made me mad, and I was like, okay, this is BS. It doesn't look good for us. And so I'm just going to suggest that we could maybe try, and I think Mark has a great working relationship with this neighborhood. He's handled things really well, but maybe we could get our name off that flyer.
Sure.
Great.
Okay. Just one other thing on the director's report was that that we are partnering with the city and the county and with the next door to do an equity workshop later on in the month of April. We decided to go ahead and sign our entire staff up for it. The city is sending, I think, 13 people. I think the county is sending 5 or 6 managers to it as well, and it should be a great training. This has been a year with not much training, with pretty much all conferences and everything canceled. So it's nice to have these sorts of trainings that the entire staff can come together and learn from and have, and also to be able to work with city and county and talk to some other managers. I'm sure there's going to be some breakout sessions and such, but talking to other local people through that. So I just wanted to have the board aware of that.
That's good.
And so that's it for the director's report. So Marcy, you get the fun slides.
I gotta get a snack.
Mute.
Forget about mute. So the pool's open. We're very happy to be back up and running. A lot of happy people. People have been very safe. Mark talked a little bit about Shelly and swim team and water polos back in the pool, and everybody's just doing a really great job of getting in, having fun at their practices, and being super safe about it and cognizant of the safety precautions. Our staff is really on top of things, and I think that the public is really excited about our new floors in the women's locker room. You can see the before pictures and the after pictures. They really have just made, a big wow factor for when you walk into the women's locker room from the old floors. The men's locker room is slated to be refinished in September when we do our annual maintenance. But otherwise, we're happy to have the pool opened again, and, nothing major. We're still, kind of running the same and similar program as we did the last time we were open during the COVID thing, with reservations being taken for all the different types of activities, from lap swim to water aerobics to adult therapy and family therapy. We're offering a lot of different times and options for families to come and use the pool. Of course, water aerobics has been super well attended and very popular, as has been lap lane reservations. We're still at capacity for all of those things. With our restrictions, with Hood River County going to the lowest category, risk category, our restrictions don't really change too terribly much from the moderate level to the low. We still have a capacity that is well within our range. Our indoor capacity is 100 people. We are not getting to that capacity quite yet, because we're just not quite there in our comfort level with that, particularly with some of these pinch points like in the locker room and those sorts of things. We would really have to monitor that a lot more heavily. But otherwise, everything's going pretty well. Any questions or anything?
I don't think so. Anybody else?
All right.
Okay, come here. Sorry. So it looks like we're going to move into executive session. Do I need a motion?
I move that we move out of our regular meeting into executive session.
Looking
Can
for
I have Did you get that, Marcy?
Yeah, and I made a second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're moving into executive session. Are we
need
back?
to announce that there were no decisions made in executive session, now that we're out of executive session.
There were no decisions made in executive session. Now we were back in our regular meeting and looking for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
And a second.
I'll second it. Thank you
All in
all.
favor? We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.